Hi friends, welcome back to my session. And in the current session, we are going to discuss about the one of the most important topic in the AWS is regarding database. So for every application, generally what we follow, we are following the three-tier architecture. The first layer is web layer, means web server, and the second tier is application layer, and the third is database layer. For any kind of application, to get the user hitting, web server is there. So once the user hit the web server, then application will be accessed through application layer, where we are running the application server, means the application code is running in the application server. At the same time, for every application in backend, we need to store data. So without data, the user can't be able to access any kind of data by using that application. Means whatever the data which is associated with that application, everything will be in the database only. So these three functions will work together, then only user will be able to access the application. Generally, some companies follow the three-tier architecture, and some companies will follow the two-tier architecture, and there is n-tier architecture as well. And some companies even follow one-tier architecture, means the web server, the application server, and at the same time the database server will be installed in the same server. Okay, I will let you know. Just I will show it to you how the layer will be. Okay, if user hitting the web server, from web server, this is the first layer of web server. From this web server, he will access the application from the web server which is running behind of this web server. Okay, even though if user reaches the web server, but he will access the application which is running on the application server, and he is accessing the data which has been stored in the database server. These three are interlinked each other. Okay, just please, and I will show it to you. Here in AWS will provide the RDS as a data base service as a RDS. Means AWS will provide the database service, means it will provide the database servers which will be called as a relational database service. With the help of the RDS, we can be able to create the database instances, databases. Just please remember, the database instance is different and the database is different. So with the help of the relational database service, we are going to create the database services. Okay, and just please have a look. RDS is Amazon based database service in which AWS provide SQL database engines. SQL stands for structured query language, where the data will be stored in the structured format. And query level, query language means if I execute any query, based on my query, it will display the result. I have a different types of tables, means in everything in database, everything will be stored in the tables. So if I want to fetch any data, I am going to write the SQL queries. What are the queries which I have been executed, based on that query which I had raised, it will display the data, means it will display the result. That will be important. There are two categories of databases. Generally, we have two types of databases are available in the market. One is OLTP and the second one is OLAP. The OLTP stands for online transactional processing. Majority of the applications are using the OLTP only. And OLAP, it stands for online analytical processing. Generally, it will be used for the data warehousing. If I have the big data warehousing and where I am going to analyze the large amount of data, there I am going to use the online analytical processing, that is OLAP. Okay, generally for all kind of application services, I am going to use the OLTP only. And one more thing, all the database engines available on the RDS or OLTP category only. Means in RDS we can avail the different types of service engines, means database engines. Suppose every company has their own requirement. Some companies prefer to use the MySQL, and some companies prefer to use the PostgreSQL, and some companies show interest towards the MariaDB. And based on the company preference, they are going to use the different services. But AWS will not suppose to provide all the services which has been available in the market, but it will provide the whatever the majority of the companies are going to use. Those services, means those database engines has been integrated with AWS in the service of RDS. By using the service of RDS, I can be able to use those database service engines. In this, we have the 7 things are there. The first one is MySQL, the second one is PostgreSQL, MariaDB, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, IBM DB2, Aurora. In Aurora, we have the 2 type of compatibilities are there. One is MySQL compatibility and PostgreSQL compatibility. One more thing, and here if you find the name Aurora, Aurora is the AWS provided database engine. Means AWS only designed this Aurora database engine based on the features of the MySQL compatible for the in 2 things. Either it will be in a MySQL compatible or either it will be PostgreSQL compatible. Based on my requirement, suppose I am the company, I am going to use the MySQL compatible, means MySQL edition. So instead of using MySQL, if I using the Aurora MySQL compatible, whatever the features available on the MySQL, the same features will be available in the Aurora MySQL as well. But if I using the Aurora MySQL compatible, additional features will be added to my Aurora MySQL compatible because of AWS. Along with the regular features, it will add some more additional features for those which is compatible with our requirements. Generally, if I want to use the same, and if I want to use the same with the additional features, then I am going to prefer for the Aurora. That may be MySQL compatible or that may be PostgreSQL compatible. Okay. Just please have a quick understanding what are the components available in the RDS. Then furtherly in the classes we will let's see how we are going to create the database engine, how we will be connecting to the database engine, how we are going to create the tables, how we are going to delete, everything we will be discussed in the further classes. And our responsibilities are, as a AWS administrator, what are the responsibilities we need to do? Because of for doing this queries, SQL queries, everything, there will be a database administrator there. So these are the tasks which has been made by the database administrator. Means if you SQL queries, executing the scripts, everything will be taken care by the SQL admins, means database admins. But our responsibilities are, suppose whenever there is a requirement, what we need to do, we need to create the database instance and the database instance maintenance, and we need to maintain the high availability. And whenever there is requirement, we need to take the backups and snapshots. Backups and snapshots are both are the same. And here there while coming to the snapshots, we need to consider 2 things. There will be a manual snapshot and there will be automatic snapshot. While we creating the database instance, we need to configure the snapshots. Means automatically for every day the snapshot will be done. It is for backup purpose. Suppose suddenly my database engine has been corrupted. At the time I'm not bad to lose all of my data. Instead of doing that, what I will do daily on regular basis, I'm going to take the snapshots. So based on the snapshots, if I suddenly my database server has been crashed, at that time by using the snapshot, I'm going to recreate the database engine and the performance of the database engine. That the database instance. Database engine means database instance. Maybe performance means suddenly the load has been increased, the memory and CPU utilization may be increased. So every time I need to maintain the performance. The performance is plays key role. So if the DB instance is good, then the performance of the database engine means the the transaction speed must be in the good speed, then the user experience will be in the super. So in order to maintain the same, we need to maintain the performance of the DB instance in a good condition. Okay, and so I will do one thing quickly. I'm going to create one database instance, then you will get the better understanding how the data will be, how the flow will be processing. Okay, I can quickly jump into the practical session. I'm going to log on into the AWS console. So once I had login into the AWS console, I am going to use a service called RDS. The RDS stands for Relational Database Service. Simply type the RDS. Here you can be able to see. Right now I am in the Northern Virginia region, and just please have a look on the dashboard. In the dashboard you can find all the things. How many DB instances are there? How many increased DB limit? The DB clusters, the reserved instance, the snapshots, manual, automated, the recent events, whatever the recent events which has happened in my database cluster, everything monitored here. The parameters, options, subnet groups, everything from the dashboard we can be able to monitor. And right now, is there any database instance in my account? No. By default, we can create the 40 DB instances in the AWS account. Suppose if I want to create more than 40 DB instances, there is no issue. The AWS provides the feasibility to generate the how many DB instances required. Based on my requirement, AWS will provide that much compatibility. Okay, don't worry. By default, it will be 40. But based on my requirement, I can be able to increase the limit. There is a kind of possibility here. Okay, without wasting the time, quickly I'm going to create one database instance. Just please have a look. Right now I don't have any database instance. Just create database instance and standard easy. Here in standard means everything is my responsibility. I'm going to configure each and every option which are required as per my project or organization requirement. But coming to the easy create, by using the recommended settings and at the same time by using the default settings and by entering the foremost with a little bit of priorities, it will create the database. But once the database has been created, it will provide the feasibility to change some certain options. Okay, obviously everything what I will do, everything will be set by me. I just want here in this scenario what I need to do, everything will be configured by me manually. So that's why I'm going to select the standard create. Okay, the engine option here, as I discussed, as I showed now, these are the services, these are the database engines available in the RDS. So as I told you, the MySQL, Aurora MySQL compatible, Aurora PostgreSQL compatible, MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, these are the things which are available. But right now I am going to use the MySQL compatible, not the AWS. The Aurora MySQL compatible we will discuss in the further classes. Okay, for now I am going to select the one of the database engine, that is the MySQL. Okay, and come down. Okay, here everything you can MySQL community, the high features shows versions that support for multi-AZ DB cluster. Okay, if you enable this, it will show the engine versions which are supported for the multi-AZ, multiple availability zones DB cluster. But right now what I will do, I'm going to create the database instance in the single availability zone only. So that's why I'm not going to enable this option. And here if you enable it, it shows the version that support for Amazon RDS optimized writes. Okay, I don't want to enable these two options right now. I'm going with the default options. Okay, and here it will display the list of versions. It will be the current version, recent version, future version, whatever the recent version which is available. So based on my requirement, based on the compatibility, I am going to create. If you are joined in any organization, you don't know which compatible they are using, they will guide you. Before going, if you have the task to create any RDS instances, at the time what they will do, they will provide the what the things they have their actual requirement. So based on that actual requirement and the based on that guidelines, you are going to select the which version they are actually looking for. Okay, you don't need to worry about that. Right now, what I will do, I am going to select 8.0.32. You can select any other version. It's your wish based on your requirement. Okay, and templates. Here, for what purpose I am going to create for this database instance? Either it is for production, or either it is for dev or test environment, or otherwise free tier. Suppose if you select the free tier, the every option will be disabled. You don't have the any option to choose manually. So right now I'm not going with the free tier eligible. I'm going to use the production. Suppose if you assume generally where we are going to create, most of the database instances are created in the production server only. In testing and dev testing environments also we are going to create, but majority of the database instances we are going to create in the production environment only. Okay, and here my thing is I am going to create the single DB instance. Here total 3 scenarios are there. Either the single DB instance and multi availability zone DB instance and multi availability zone DB cluster. Okay, right now I am going with the option single DB instance, means the database engine will be created in the one instance which is available in the single availability only. There is no backup. Okay, and here the database instance identifier means it is the instance name, it is not the database name. Okay, and here I can mention my first DB instance. Okay, and what is the password? Either if I want to set my own admin password, means own username password, I can set. It's my option. Right now I'm going to set admin, and okay, and if you use this manager in AWS Secret Manager, it will automatically generate the password. But right now I'm going to click the self manage myself only. I'm going to select. I will select admin 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, admin 1 2 3 4 5 6. Fine. The instance which kind of which type of instance you want to configure. Okay, suppose if I enable this option, it will show the instance type that support for Amazon RDS optimized rights. If I enable this option, it will show the previous generation classes, and it will right now the standard class has been selected, but these standard classes has much chargeable to be. Right now I had created this database instance for the lab or testing purpose only, so that's why I don't want to charge that much amount. So that's why instead of selecting the standard classes, I am going to select the DB T3.micro. It will be little bit charged to me, so that's why. And the storage, you have the 3 options, not the 3 options, you have the 5 options: IO1, IO2, GP2, GP3, and the magnetic. This is a older version. Generally this is not recommended. So you know, comparatively GP2 is the standard. If you think GP3, it will be little bit costlier than the GP2. If you think IO1, it will be little bit costlier than GP2 and GP3. If you think about the IO2, it will be little bit costlier than IO1. Means if it is costlier than IO1, means it will be costlier than GP2 and GP3. But it is, as it is a lab purpose, I am going to select the GP2. And if I select the GP2, what is the minimum value? 20 GB. And max 6144 means 64 TB. So right now I am going to select the minimum GB, as this is the testing, so that's fine. Okay, auto scaling. Suppose if I enable the auto scaling, suppose suddenly the load has been increased on my database instance. Up to how much size it will be increased? So if I set the 1000 here, as I set initially it for 20 GB. Suppose suddenly the load has been increased, it will increase without my approval. Means here I already set it now. Without my approval, it will automatically expand up to 1000 GB. But here I don't have that much requirement, as this is for lab purpose. Okay, but I just enable this option and connectivity. And this connectivity is used, it will establish a connection to the database instance from the EC2 service. But right now I don't want to connect to my database instance from the EC2 instance. So that's why I select this option. Okay. And the network, I am going to use the IPv4. And the network, right now I am going to use the default VPC and DB subnet, the default and the public access. Means suppose if I click on S, it will assign the public IP. So even though if it is assigned the public IP, I will put some restrictions. Based on the restrictions, whoever I had made through the security group, those will be able to access whatever the ports which I had been opened. Based on that ports, the user will be able to access this database. Okay, VPC security group. I am going to create a new VPC security group name. What I will do, my first DB underscore security group. Okay, and RDS proxy, it's not required, it's optional. And a certificate authority, if we have any one certificate with us, you can use that. Right now I am going to use the certificate which has been provided by the AWS. That will be the default certificate. And if you check here, additional configuration, and one more thing you just need to remember, the MySQL, for every database engine there will be a separate dedicated port is there. For MySQL, the port number is 3306. We must and should need to open this 3306 port. If I don't enable this port, then the database engine will never, I can't be able to communicate with the database engine if I don't enable this port. Okay, the 3306 for MySQL. Okay, the password authentication. How the right now I am going to use the password authentication only. Means I am using with the credentials, the username, with the username and password, I am going to access my database. Suppose if I want to provide the additional security to my database instance, at the time I am going to use the password and IAM database authentication. As you know, IAM, as we already discussed in the previous classes, identity access management. Suppose if I attach the IAM rule, then even though user has no username and password, but he need to authenticate through IAM as well. Means here the second layer of authentication is required. Even though he knows the username password, but in IAM, through IAM he need to prove he is the authorized person. He need to log into that database instance. And password and Kerberos authentication. Kerberos authentication is one of the authentication. Like in AD, we have different authentication protocols are there. So Kerberos is also one of the authentication protocol. So in order to provide the better security while we are accessing anything, okay. Enable enhancing monitoring. Means for every 60 seconds, it will check the report. Either the database instance is running in the good condition or not. If there is the malfunctioning, if there is any high usage, then automatically it alerts us. So that's why I just enable the enhanced monitoring. Additional configuration. Here I am going to name the database name. My test DB. My database name is testDB. Okay, DB parameter, everything will be optional. I just here enable automatic backups, and the backup rotation period means backup rotation period. If today I had taken the snapshot, that will be available for the next 7 days. After 7 days, automatically the first snapshot will be automatically deleted. It will maintain the continuous 7 days, means continuous 7 backups. Automatically after the 7th day, it will automatically deleted from the AWS. Okay, and the backup window. Here the duration and where UTC time is plus 530. Means suppose if I take 1 plus 530, and means from 6 o'clock, means from 6:30 the backup has been initiated up to 5 hours, means up to 6:30 to 7 p.m. the backup will be initiated. Okay, means the snapshots. Enable replication in another AWS region. Means back here, if I want to provide the high availability to my database instance, at the time I'm going to enable this. In which region? Means the same replication will be available on the any other region. This is a disaster recovery. Okay, enable encryption. If it will provide the security. Encryption is nothing but converting of the unknown format into means known format into unknown format. Okay, and if you want to check the logs, you can click here, everything, and enable auto minor upgrade. If there is a very minor upgrade is there, by enabling this, automatically it will check and it will reboot. But I don't want to reboot without my permission, so that's why I just disable this option. And the maintenance window, uh, if I want to set any, I can. Otherwise, right now I don't want anything, and I just disable this enable protection, because if I click on this enable deletion protection, then if I accidentally want to delete my database instance, at that time it will never allow me to delete. So that's why I disable. Right now it is not required. Generally in production purpose, it will be enabling mode only. Okay, just click on create the database. Your request to create the database didn't work. Cannot create a public access data. This specific VPC has no internet gateway. Update the VPC and try again. Okay, got it. I will do one thing. VPC. In VPC, what it will show, it doesn't have the gateway. So that's why it will not able to. What I will do, in Northern Virginia region, I have the only one default VPC. Just what I will do, I am going to delete this VPC. Yes. So it will take some time. What I will do, I will wait for some time, and this is the process. So here, just please have a look. Click on actions. So VPC dashboard. Just go to the VPC action. Here the create default VPC. So once I'm right now, I just created the default VPC. Means once I have created the default VPC, everything will be created automatically. I'm going to here. Just what I will do. Uh, okay, okay. Right now I'm going to create. Okay. Actually, I just changed this VPC now, so that's why it is not reflecting. Okay. 5D, 5D, 5D. Here default VPC is show. I need to refresh everything. So what happened? I will check. I'm just okay. Everything will went off as usual. What I think. So I will do once again. And for now, I'm just stopping this session. So once it is done, I will let you know. Means in the further session, I'm just going to show the same. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you joining the session. Bye bye.